Marjana will speak about Professor Steven Salaita and his fight for academic freedom. Please welcome Marjana Abu Khalil.
So, for those of you who don't know Professor Steven Salaita, he was a tenured faculty member of the at Virginia Tech. He taught in the English department there. Steven Salaita went through a rigorous hiring process through the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. He was hired through the department there. It was the American Indian Studies Department. And basically, through the chancellor, he was kind of promised that he was supposed to get the board of approval by the board of trustees at the university. So it's not unusual for the professor to start teaching there at the university before they get that seal of the board of trustees. Now, granted, Steven had signed his contract, so he was fired without due process, which is completely illegal. So I speak to you now not just as a student of the University of Illinois, but as a Palestinian student activist. So a lot of times when you hear about this case, you'll just hear about it in terms of free speech or academic freedom, but Steven Salaita was not just fired because of his tweets. He was fired because of his tweets about Palestine, and I want to make that very clear. He was speaking about Israel's heinous acts the heinous acts that Israel has committed against the Palestinians. So I don't want to take this out of context, so that is the main reason why he was fired. My first main point would be on the mobilization. So this controversy has mobilized more faculty than we've ever seen in the U.S., or than we've ever seen in U.S. history, because of the firing of Salaita has basically violated the most cherished values of public education. So namely the process of firing, hiring, and tenure. Faculty within the departments and the dean's office are responsible for determining which faculty are qualified for these positions. So Steven was actually qualified for this position. He obtained the position with the department's approval, with the dean's approval, but was ultimately rejected by the board of trustees and the chancellor, which completely goes against due process, because they do not really have the authority to judge Steven on his academic quality of education or as an educator. The dean's office is responsible for determining these decisions, and after going through this intense process, he was hired through the standard hiring procedures, and pro-Israeli external pressure groups supported by the chancellor and the board of trustees were seen as a major threat to a major reason why he was fired. So the academics seem to not be really in charge of this situation. It seems like it's more of a politician and business agenda going on here. It's basically an attack on public education, and it opens up the possibility for banks and politicians to determine the faculty, the hiring and firing of faculty. This is why the case has mobilized more academics to take a stance than ever before. The next case I would like to make would be about the impact on academic freedom that it has had. It has created a culture of fear and repression. Junior faculty, graduate students, and undergraduate students alike could be punished for enacting free speech. People of color and social justice activists are impacted in this way as well. As a student activist, as a Palestinian, I do not want to be repressed for in any kind of way for speaking out about Israel. Just because I'm a Palestinian student activist, I don't want to be repressed for that. So I don't think any student should have to be repressed for speaking out about the civil liberties that are being compromised here. This has been connecting Chicago's urban communities and promoting an exchange between others with diverse ideas, but the fear of being repressed allows those in power to maintain their power. So if we let this continue on and we don't speak on it while it's hot, this is going to keep happening. This is something that has been done in the past, and it's not going to go away. A lot of professors and academics in U.S. history have been repressed for speaking out about Israel. So I just want to make that clear that, Saleta was not fired because of his tweets. He was fired because of his tweets condemning Israel. There's a new initiative where UIC is hiring 20 new faculty members in 5 cutting-edge areas, which include the Middle East and North African studies. Faculty across the campus and other scholars are kind of discouraged from applying for these new positions because of their fear of being repressed, and we don't want that to happen. We want our university to express their ideals of diversity as they preach on their main website. If you go to UIC's main website, you'll see diversity all across the page, yet the university is going against their exact morals by firing Saleta. Most importantly, I would like to talk about the case for Palestine. So the problem right now is that many academics are on board with the case for Saleta in terms of academic freedom. But once you talk to them and get in conversation with them, you hear, oh, well, his tweets were a little bit harsh, So we want to get away from that type of conversation. The reason why Saleta was fired was because of his tweets on Gaza, condemning Israel. So it's not just a academic freedom and freedom of speech case. It is because of Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I had some remarks sort of prepared that I was going to make here, and I'll make them. I get 2 hats here, and I decided to put on my second hat after listening to the 3 previous speakers here. So I am General Counsel for the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, and we are trying to get an ordinance introduced and passed that is the Civilian Police Accountability Council, which in reality, takes control of the police department away from the mayor and puts it into the people's hands. And that is our hope. That is what we're striving for. But we have to understand the limits of what that ordinance will actually do. And it's at this point that I think I'm going to take off my NAARPR hat off and put the Larry Redmond hat on. These comments are going to be my comments. When you talk about a war, the first, and I'm sure all of you know this, the first casualty of any war is the truth. Okay? It's no accident that the character of children victims are being assassinated after they die because there's an agenda afoot here. And we have to understand what that agenda is. That agenda in Palestine is, and it has been this agenda since 1948. Make no mistake about that. Israel wants to expand its border all the way to the sea and get rid of everybody that's there. They call it the American model because that is what happened in America. Look around, there's no Native Americans in this room. If you go out on the street, there's none out there. And how did that come to pass? It's because they were either exterminated or they were put on reservations and contained. That is what the Palestinians can look forward to if we don't stand up and fight for them the way we stand up and fight for ourselves, okay? That is the same situation that is happening in America today with the black population. It was mentioned earlier on that black men are at risk in the United States of America, and it's the honest-to-God truth. And strangely, there's a lot of black people here that don't understand that. We mentioned the president and the power that he has to do what we think is the right thing. He does not have that power. He's the president of the United States of America. It is the banks that run the country. They finance him, they finance his campaign, they finance the campaigns of most of the people in Congress today. They have financed the campaigns of legislators throughout this country. And so what we are seeing is the putting into place of a mechanism to exterminate black people in this country. It is happening before our very eyes. They're shooting black children in the street. The one in Ferguson was just one of many. We don't hear about most of them. We just do not hear, and there's a reason for that. It's because the media are controlled by the banks, and they choose to report that everything is okay. It is not okay. We are fighting a common battle because what is happening is there are forces here that want to take over the world. Because if you look around, the same thing is happening in Africa, in the Congo. The Congo is being invaded by forces from Rwanda who are supported by the banks of the West. China has just announced that the SARS epidemic that happened some years ago, they believe that was an attempt to attack China using biological warfare. And so they are taking steps right now to counter that incursion on their sovereignty. So we have to understand here that we are at war. We are at war, and the laws that we are trying to abide by, those are the rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement that have been put into place by the enemy that we are trying to defeat. So we have to get ourselves into a mindset where we don't look for the truth, because the truth's not there. By deception shall you wage war. That's the motto of Messiah. It's by design. They start out with a lie. They start out with a lie, and then they progress from there to do whatever it is that they want to do. We have to understand that the search for truth is irrelevant. We have to understand that we are in a battle to save humanity here. And we can't, it'd be nice to be able to find the truth. It'd be wonderful. But focus on how to defeat the enemy. And I have the answer. I'm not going to divulge the answer tonight. I'm going to leave that. But understand that at some point, Palestinians are going to have to learn to stop fighting a defensive battle. They're going to have to make incursions into Israel and take the battle to them. And once they do that, then they'll know that they're in a real war. I'll wrap up with this. I appreciate all of you coming out here. And understand that the battle that we are waging is not just in Palestine, it is not just in America, it is worldwide, because the banks that run these countries, these organizations, are worldwide. And we have to think about the allies that we have everywhere. Reach out to them, be a part of them, fight their war as if we're fighting our own war, because in fact we are. Thank you.